nice idea to get rid of racism. We all live happily ever after. And if any of you have been out here before and heard me speak the last time or a couple of times ago, I talked about the spirituality in Bruce Springsteen's songs. Doesn't really get too much trendier than that, right? Is this sort of a new trendy topic to talk about racism? Well, why is this worthy of a church service? And I think the answer to that is what Charlie read earlier. Charlie read, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." To understand this, I think you have to have sort of the context of when Jesus said that. So Jesus is on the cross. He is in about as much pain as he's ever been in, as anybody's ever been in. And I think that part of that is absolutely physical pain. But more of it, I think, is the pain of disappointment. He has spent his life teaching loving community, and he looks out at the crowd, and he thinks of the people who decided, the people who made a conscious choice to do this to him. And in all of his pain, does he call for locusts and plagues? Does he say it's time for a second flood to wash away the sins of humanity and start over? No. He focuses all of his pain on forgiveness. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. The best way that I know how to deal with racism is with that kind of faith. We must talk about racism. We must have the uncomfortable and awkward conversations that Hopkins had and that Georgetown is having and that I've tried to have in my own kitchen and in book groups. And I'm telling you that when these conversations go badly, as they inevitably will, and when someone says something that I just know to be racist, or when I call the neighbor with the dog the Indian guy, we must all stop and think, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Simply translated, I think that means keep trying. Don't quit. I want to make sure that I don't cut conversations off forever because I'm offended. That is a big step for me. In fact, that is a giant leap of faith. Talking about racism is hard. I know because I watch and I listen to people screw it up all the time. I screw it up. I make jokes. I say things I regret. And I think one of the worst things that I can do, one of the worst things that we can all do, is to stop trying because it's so hard. Of course it's hard to talk about racism. We don't do it very often. But here's the takeaway. There are so many issues to deal with today. And maybe what you care about most is cancer research or refugees or hunger. Or maybe it's climate change or homelessness. And all of those, every one of those is a worthy project. And every one of those issues gets better sooner if you don't have to deal with racism in the middle of those conversations. So here's my plan. Remember I told you that there would be some work to do after this? I want you to find somebody to talk with about racism. Right? Talk to your spouse, talk to your kids, talk to your neighbor. If you can't find anybody else, call me. Talk to them, share your thoughts. And if you don't know how to start it with, I heard this guy talking this morning, he didn't know what he was talking about. He thinks it's this bad and it's not, or he thinks it's this bad and it's worse, or whatever it is. Find a way to start a conversation about racism. And when you're done talking, I want you to listen to that other person talk to you. And when the two of you hit a point in the conversation where it's bumpy, where it's ugly, where it's messy, where somebody has said something that they are not supposed to say, I want you to forgive each other. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And then repeat it. All right? 4 steps. Talk, listen, forgive, repeat. Willie, I want you to stay up in my face when I say the neighbor with the dog is an Indian. Don't let me get away with that. And then try not to think less of me. Frederick Douglass said that he prayed for freedom for 20 years, but he received no answers until he prayed with his legs and ran away from his slave master. I'm asking us today to pray with conversations with God and with each other as a form of prayer for a better world. Amen. All right. So here's the beauty of this morning. You liked what I had to say, you didn't like it. You're not going going to remember it in 10 minutes. And that's because we got a song for you today that is fantastic. I have seen them rehearse it, and it's gotten better and better. The song is called Glory. It's from the music. It's from the movie Selma. It was written by John Legend and Common. I'm going to perform it now.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, oh, glory, oh, glory, glory.
Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon form against us. Yes, glory is destined. Every day women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtapositioning us. Justice for all just isn't specific enough. One son died, his spirit is revisiting us. Truant living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with all our hands up. When it goes down, we women and men up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots we on the ground, the camera it pans up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we climb up.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, oh, glory, yes, glory, glory. Now the war is not over, victory isn't won. We're gonna fight on to the finish until it's said and done. We'll cry glory, oh, glory, glory, glory. We'll cry glory, oh, glory, glory.
Selma's now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torches, we will have to run with them now. Never look back, cause we done gone hundreds of miles. From dark roads, he rose to become a hero. Facing a league of justice, his power was the people. Enemy is lethal, a king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald eagle. Our biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. We sing, our music are the cuts that we bleed through. Somewhere along the dream we had an epiphany. Now we right the wrongs that we have seen throughout history. No one can win the war individually. It takes the wisdom of the elders and the young people's energy. Welcome to the story we call victory. The coming of the Lord, our eyes have seen the glory.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day,
progress. I see us trying. I see us having this difficult conversation. And I'm glad to be here today with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Listen, forgive, repeat.